Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Online Teaching Show, Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I had forgotten today to remind my email list about this, so hopefully a few folks show up, but we're going to truck on through with some content about transitioning from a company to independent teaching, how to make that shift if that's something that you are interested in doing, because it's probably the number one question I get. And I think that some of the things I'm going to say will be helpful for those that are already, in process of making that shift, or who are maybe thinking about doing that. And you might be working for a company or wondering if you should skip the working for a company part and start to build your teaching business. So thank you, Mary. Good to see you. Hello from Canada. Hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Haven't talked to you in a while. Hopefully things are going well for you. If you are here live, would love to see you in the chat. You can let me know where you're tuning in from. You can also let me know if you are currently working for an online company or a platform, if you're already an independent teacher, or if you're in transition of moving from company to being an independent teacher. I would love to hear from you where you're at. And if you're watching the replay of this video, welcome to you. You can ask questions below in the comments, and I will be sure to get back to you. So great. All right. I have a little ticker at the bottom of the video to my free class, onlineteacherdude.com/free class. If you go there, you're going to go to a registration page. You're going to be able to see available times that you can join the class. This class is really, I'm teaching you my framework of how to go independent. I'm giving you so much from my Launch Going Solo Launch Academy program. And I'm also giving you a lot of value around, how to get started and some really good actionable steps. So onlineteacherdude.com/free class. That is also the only way to get the discount to Launch Academy for $50 off, making it $247. So it's all really great stuff, whether you join Launch Academy or not. But of course, that is available to you if you would like to join after watching the free class. Hello from Japan. Wow, good to see you. Hello from Canada as well. Carol Wright, welcome. And I know who this is, but I've completely forgotten your name. Dragonfly from the US. Good to have you guys here. Let's dive into how to make that switch from company teacher to independent teacher. All right. So I'm going to start with my own story. And many of you know I worked with companies like VIP Kid. I worked with a company called GoGo Kid. I worked with Cambly. I even opened classes with VIP Teacher. I think I was doing a few earlier this year because I was making a video about them. I did some classes with Twenix, which is teaching adults. And actually, I've got a interesting video coming out next week in a few weeks about them. But I worked with a lot of companies, and I felt a lot of frustrations with them, obviously lower pay, instability, and things like that. And for me, the turning point to going independent wasn't something that I was trying to achieve, because when things were great with those companies, I was doing great. I didn't really have this need to go independent. And it was sort of unknown territory at that time as well. I was, making a pretty good wage with VIP Kid. I was getting booked with pretty much everything that I was opening. And I was pretty happy. Did I want to make more? Of course. But I was really stuck into these companies, and things were going well. So what caused that shift for me was companies closing down. And so I took a lot of students from companies that were still wanting a teacher, a lot of my regular students who still wanted to take private classes. I did foresee, the potential of something like this happening the year before. And so I worked really hard on getting contacts from students and just having as many contacts as I could from my students. And, then I was able to go independent, build my teaching business, help a lot of teachers to do that as well. Now, my journey is not necessarily the same as everybody else's. And you probably, if you're looking at going independent in 2025, you may not have a social media account with lots of students following you, or a WeChat account with lots of student contacts. But I still believe it's very possible, and I'm hoping that we can chat about that here. So if you've got any questions, you're watching live, any questions about online teaching, going independent, feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll tackle them. But I sort of see this as 3 key steps to make that switch. And you are not necessarily going to follow my exact method of doing it, but really it all starts with a mindset shift, and that's step number 1. Moving from working with a company to teaching on your own is not just about the logistics, although those tend to be some of the things that are at the forefront of our mind. It's really about seeing yourself as the independent teacher that you want to be, right? So it's kind of a quick reframe. The company teacher would ask something like, when are you going to give me students, right? But the independent teacher asks, how am I going to go about finding my own students? And so I want to encourage you to just take really small steps in this regard. Nothing needs to be perfect from the start, but I really want you to see yourself in the shoes of an independent teacher, building a teaching business and putting the steps in place to make it happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to make that mindset shift and all of a sudden have a flourishing business. No business works like that. And I think so many times teachers get into this because they have experience from a company where maybe they did get a lot of students. They almost expect that to happen when going independent. And it just doesn't, right? Unless you've got a dozen students waiting for you anxiously for you to open up your slots on your own platform and, accept payments and all that kind of stuff. It's not always like that. And it can be a very slow game for many teachers. And so I just want to sort of set those realistic expectations for you. But starts with the mindset shift, right? Like you're now thinking about, how am I going to go about getting those first few students? And I really encourage you to think of it that way. Don't think of it as, of course, it's great to have goals, but think of it as, how am I going to get that very first student? Where can I already go in my own network, in my own social media, in my own community, in my own sphere of the online space that I know how to work with? How am I going to go about letting folks know that this is what I'm doing? Because your first student doesn't necessarily have to come from social media, right? It can come from someone you already know, a contact of a contact, a former student, a current student. There's so many different ways. And I say this, until I'm blue in the face, but no one's going to talk about your business more than you are. So shifting mindset, the first step, see yourself as that independent teacher. And then let's move on to step 2, which is finding your niche and your value. So why does niching make finding students easier? It's because you become known for something, right? How am I able to find or attract online teachers into my online teaching business funnel? Well, I'm able to do that because I speak very clearly to online teachers. I am someone who works with online teachers. I make content about online teaching, and I've just been doing this for a long time, and I've drilled down on it, and I've gotten laser focused on what I'm talking about. And because of that, I'm able to get in front of the right people. But it didn't start like that, right? I had to start throwing things against the wall. I had to start just being really scrappy about how I was going about it. So it's not that you know exactly what you're doing from day one. It's about making the decision, getting in the right mindset, and not stopping until it happens for you. So back to niching. Things like IELTS prep, things like accent reduction, things like TOEFL prep, test preparation, business English. These are highly searched key terms for students looking for online teachers. So right off the bat, it makes a lot of sense to be focused on a niche. And it doesn't have to be super focused in the beginning. It just needs to be focused enough that you can clearly articulate who it is you're wanting to teach, what it is that you're helping them solve, and why they would want to take classes with you in the first place. All right. So that's really all niching down is about. If you're teaching kids, think about how you could phrase that into an elevator pitch. If someone said, "Hey, what do you teach?" And you could let them know that. All right. So that's step 2, niching down. And I've got lots of content about that on my YouTube channel. If you want to dive deeper into that, I've got videos about that on my channel, and I'd be happy to help you. You can also email me if you have questions about your niche, and we can talk about it through there. I also don't mention this a lot, but you're also able to message me on Instagram at Online Teacher Dude, or on Facebook as well. I have a Facebook business page, which is my name, Tim Gascoigne. All right. And my email and contact information is below. All right. The final step, which I wanted to talk about, is setting up your first student pipeline. But before we talk about that, let's address this question about a website. So there's many platforms that often offer all-round integration, calendar, invoicing, etc. My concern is, who keeps the data? Should I build my own site on WordPress? So this is getting into the weeds, right, of the logistics, which is what I was saying earlier. And it's not always about that, even though this is something that, yes, you do need to make decisions around. So let's talk about it for a second. Yes, there's all-around integration platforms that do all those things, and those are great. But do you ask yourself, do you really need all of those things, right? Do you need a calendar? I've never used a calendar for booking students in 5 years of teaching independently, because my students have a schedule, right? So it's creating a calendar would just open a whole can of worms for me. But if you are getting social media, like students from social media, and they're looking for a place to book classes, and that's how you're doing it, then you would just use a free thing like Calendly, right? Set up a free calendar event, and students could book you based on the parameters that you set, free. Invoicing, I mean, how many students do you have that you need some kind of integration with that? Because, I mean, I just do it manually for me. But if you had like a school or an academy and multiple teachers, then I could see maybe the need for that. The data, I mean, yeah, you'd have to look into the fine print. I don't know. Some platforms keep data, but they're certainly not sharing your data with anyone. But it does leave you susceptible to data breaches if that happens. And that happens with, companies like Facebook and Google, and, all of them have had data breaches before. So yeah, but I don't think they're keeping any really sensitive data. Should you build your own site on WordPress? It's a very, I would get like some kind of a front end or back end developer to work with you on that. It's a lot of work. But you can also use some plugins. I'm pretty familiar with WordPress. You can use a theme with some plugins. But I always question people about why they feel like they need a website. With the focus on social media these days, I mean, most businesses don't actually have websites anymore. They just use their social media account as a website. Like take restaurants, for example. I mean, it's very rare that I go to a restaurant's website to do anything. I'll go to their Instagram account, and they'll have links there for a booking, for reservations. Their location will link to a Google map, or they'll have their menu there, which is really the 3 things that I'm generally looking for. So I would question whether you really need a website, Al. Throwing it out there, because it may not be necessary, but for some it is, and I totally get that. So you can certainly build it on WordPress. No worries. I want to save you time, that's for sure. All right, cool. Yeah, if there's any other questions, for those that have just jumped in, we're talking about the 3 key steps to making that switch. We started with mindset, niching down, and recognizing your value. Asking yourself, what kind of student do you enjoy teaching the most? Like, what problem are you helping them solve? If you can narrow that down and pinpoint that, it doesn't mean you're excluding teaching other students, but it does mean that you're getting in front of the right people, especially if you're using social media. Now, step 3 is setting up that pipeline. So you don't need, even though I teach in Launch Academy how to create a student funnel, You don't need a fancy funnel. You don't even need to do ads at first, right? So I want to just share quick methods with you that you can do today, whether you've got those decisions made around what you're teaching or anything, trial classes, booking, invoicing, like forget all that stuff. If you're looking at doing this today, I would update. The first thing I would do is I would update my bio on Facebook. I would update my bio on Instagram, if you use Instagram, or TikTok or wherever, with those important keywords. If you're on platforms, I would update your teacher bio on like italki, Preply, Wyzant, those kind of things with your niche focus. Okay. Then if I was teaching adults, I would use LinkedIn, and I wouldn't do any posting or anything at first. I would simply spend a week or two building up connections on LinkedIn to get my profile that's optimized, right, with exactly what I do, and make connections with people that are potential students. And LinkedIn is fabulous for narrow searching to professionals that you want to work with. So you can, make connections. You can have second tier connections with people to be able to get in front of the right people. So that's what I would do if I was teaching adults. If I was teaching kids, I would probably reach out to former students. I would ask people to share my social media account, or I would give them a link to a trial class if they know people, especially if you've been a teacher in schools. I mean, you have a lot of resources there at your fingertips. Former colleagues, you can think about how you could get your teaching business in front of people in your own community as well, by reaching out to different places like the public library, or places that might be doing ESL classes for adults. I don't know. Just think outside the box a little bit of how you could connect with people in your own community. But I would be making a post on my personal Facebook. And I don't care if they're family and friends and they're not interested. I'm doing it anyway, because that's the best way to just get yourself out there in a very non-scary way if you're not ready to start your own teacher social media account. And I would make a very simple calendar on Calendly, a simple payment system if you're in the US, or you can set up a Stripe account, a Stripe business account, and if you're accepting payments through their invoicing or through a payment link or something like that. But like, the thing I want you to take away from this is to focus on getting your first student, and only your first student. Don't get overwhelmed and get in the weeds about all these complex things that you need to do and the overwhelm of social media. Focus on getting your first student and do everything you can to get your name out there and to let folks know what you are doing, because the internet is like a spider web, right? Take out posting regularly on an Instagram account. You can create links. You can create that spider web for your business by posting for free in different forums, replying to comments in Facebook groups. There are a lot of things you can do that aren't scary, that aren't overwhelming, but that do get you in front of the right people. Okay. So mindset, right? Finding your niche, recognizing your value, focusing on that very first student, and just getting the basics in place. Get scrappy. That's one of the modules in Launch Academy, is just getting scrappy and thinking about how you can get in front of the right people. All right, cool. So where are we at here? If there's any questions, I'll hang around for a couple more minutes. It was a rainy day here in Thailand, so I've been inside all day. Rainy season is great. It rains a lot, but actually we should be kind of out of rainy season at the moment. But we had a lot of rain today, but means that the weather's a little bit cooler, which is nice. So yeah, how is everybody doing? We can hang out and chat for a couple of minutes. I'm also looking for teachers to interview. So if you're interested, nudge, nudge. We could chat about your teaching journey. I'm still working on, I was supposed to have an interview today. I'm still working on that person. And I've got another one in the pipeline as well. So hoping to bring back some interviews, some different themes for the live show, as well as some topics like we had today. But if there's anything that you would like to talk about, you can always email me, comment on this video. And, if you're interested in going independent and building your teaching business, you can see the free class, onlineteacherdude.com/free class, and take that first step. Beyond the things I just mentioned, another step I would recommend is watch this class. It'll help you to get confidence, get your mindset in the right place, and to move forward. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. Oh, you're a web dev guy. Okay, you've got it then. Thank you, Dragonfly. Excellent. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I'll let you loose a little early today, and we will see you next week. Take care, happy teaching, and have a wonderful week.